Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapandantikam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, text number 11. Ye yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manusya partha sarvashaha. Yea, all who, yata, as, mam, unto me, prapadyante, surrender, tan, them, tata, so, eva, certainly, bhajami, reward, aham, I, mama, my, vartma, path, anuvartante, follow, manusyaha, all men, partha, O son of Pritha. What is that? Fly. Sarvashaha, in all respects. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Purport. We can repeat. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Purport. Everyone is searching for Krishna in the different aspects of his manifestations. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is partially realized in his impersonal Brahma Jyoti effulgence, and as the all-pervading Supersoul dwelling within everything, including the particles of atoms. But Krishna is fully realized only by his pure devotees. Consequently, Krishna is the object of everyone's realization, and thus anyone and everyone is satisfied according to one's desire to have him. In the transcendental world also, Krishna reciprocates with his pure devotees in the transcendental attitude, just as the devotee wants him. One devotee may want Krishna as Supreme Master, another as his personal friend, another as his son, and still another as his lover. Krishna rewards all the devotees equally, according to their different intensities of love for him. In the material world, the same reciprocations of feelings are there, and they are equally exchanged by the Lord with the different types of worshippers. The pure devotees, both here and in the transcendental abode, associate with him in person and are able to render personal service to the Lord, and thus derive transcendental bliss in his loving service. As for those who are impersonalists and who want to commit spiritual suicide by annihilating the individual existence of the living entity, Krishna helps also by absorbing them into his effulgence. Such impersonalists do not agree to accept the eternal, blissful personality of Godhead. Consequently, they cannot relish the bliss of transcendental personal service to the Lord, having extinguished their individuality. Some of them who are not firmly situated, even in the impersonal existence, return to this material field to exhibit their dormant desires for activities. They are not admitted into the spiritual planets, but they are again given a chance to act on the material planets. For those who are fruitive workers, the Lord awards the desired results of their prescribed duties as the Yajneshvara, and those who are yogis seeking mystic powers are awarded such powers. In other words, everyone is dependent for success upon his mercy alone, and all kinds of spiritual processes are but different degrees of success on the same path. Unless, therefore, one comes to the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, all attempts remain imperfect, as is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10. Akama sarvakama va mukshakama udadadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham padam. Whether one is without desire, the condition of the devotees, or is desirous of all fruitive results, or is after liberation, one should with all efforts try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for complete perfection, culminating in Krishna consciousness. Vanchakalpa taruvaischa kripa sindhu vihevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. One point that I wanted to emphasize here. Sometimes we hear the verse Yayanye Ravindaksha Vamuktivaninas. This verse that describes when one achieves impersonal liberation, he falls down again. And people sometimes wonder, what is the situation? Is impersonal liberation a permanent situation or not? In the purport here, Srila Prabhupada makes a distinction between two types of impersonalists. He says, or two types of stages of success in impersonal realization. He says, as for those who are impersonalists and who want to commit spiritual suicide by annihilating the individual existence of the living entity, Krishna helps also by absorbing them into his effulgence. So they succeed in committing spiritual suicide by being absorbed into his effulgence. Then Prabhupada says, some of them who are not firmly situated even in the impersonal existence return to this material field to exhibit their dormant desires for activities. So the point is that if someone only thinks that he is liberated, then he will fall down again into the material type of activities. But those who want to become spiritually suicide, commit spiritual suicide, Krishna does absorb them into his Brahmana effulgence. And it is said that they commit a spiritual suicide. So there is a distinction made here between the two. He clearly doesn't say that the first group fall down. He doesn't say that they don't fall down, but he doesn't say that they do fall down. He does say, however, that those who are imperfect, they fall down. But definitely liberation into the impersonal Brahman is one type of perfection. It's called Sayujya Mukti. And it is definitely a liberated stage. We don't want that stage because it is without any opportunity for serving God. This is the stage which generally, whenever we do a program in someone's home, just like we went out to Victoria the other day, and we asked them, what is the goal of Vedic study? And they eventually said, first they said to worship different gods and do yajna and get knowledge. So finally they came to the point of saying moksha, liberation. So I said, what is this moksha? They said to become one with God, to lose one's ego and stop existing separate from God. So that is called Sayujya Mukti. But if you and God are one, then there's no longer any possibility of service to God. We gave the example which we always give, that Hanumanji never wants to become Ram. He always wants to remain the das of Ram, a servant of Ram. So a devotee, a pure devotee, will not accept any type of liberation. Even he doesn't aspire for the Vaishnav liberations, which are sarupya, to have a body similar to that of God. On the Vaikuntha planets, where Lord Narayan is worshipped, the devotees there get forms which are similar to his. And except for some small differences in their bodily markings, it is very hard to distinguish Lord Narayan and those who are servants of Narayan. They have very similar appearances. Of course, from our perspective, it may be difficult, but it's not as if the devotees there have any trouble. They can clearly understand who is who by the mood, by the loving mood of reciprocation between the Lord and his devotee. Just like I remember once, my father took me to, I forget where, but anyway, there were so many Chinese people there, and he said they all look alike. Now obviously they don't all look alike, but when you can't distinguish, then it may look that way. Or sometimes people cannot tell, people who are Americans cannot distinguish Chinese from Japanese. But actually they don't look anything alike. So unless one has some training and familiarity, he can't make out the difference. So from our perspective, we cannot see the difference between Lord Narayan and someone who has Sarupya Mukti, someone who has a body similar to that of the Lord. But there's so much difference if one resides there. Then Prabhupada clears the point that so many different persons are on different paths. So this is the explanation for, or different not paths, but on one path, different stages. This is the explanation for why there are many religions in the world. This is another question we are commonly asked. Why are there so many religions in the world? Actually, there is only one path. There is one religion, and that is love of God. So the real question is, how far are you on the path towards the goal? And we can distinguish one religion from another in how far it brings its practitioners to the final goal of love of God. Generally, it cannot be that a practitioner goes beyond what the religion can deliver. Just like you can go to a college, but if it doesn't offer PhD degrees, you may be the most outstanding student in the college, but can you get a PhD? No, because they don't give PhDs. In a community college, can you get a PhD? No, you can't. So you could be the best student in the whole community college, but you still can't get a PhD. Because there's certain things that you learn in a PhD course which you won't have access to in a community college. So even though you're very smart, you won't get that PhD. Similarly, in terms of different religions, they teach to a certain level their followers. And according to what they teach, that is how far the follower can progress. So even though someone may be very advanced in a particular religion, just like we see that there are some very advanced persons who follow Christianity, for example, but they still eat meat. So how far can they advance on that platform? They still haven't even come to the point of understanding that an animal has a soul in it. Not that all, there are some vegetarian Christians, so I'm not speaking of them. But I'm saying that we can see, for example, maybe, what is that lady, that Sister Teresa, or what is her name? Mother Teresa. Sister Mother. Actually, there's another point. I listened to a lecture talking about sister. You know how the Gujaratis always say, so-and-so Ben. So Prabhupada said, what is this Ben? We don't read about Ben anywhere in the whole Vedic literatures. It clearly says that one should see another, except for one's wife, one should see all women as, then where's Ben? Now what is your response to this? Prabhupada said to this point, He said, actually, this is a concoction. He said, this is a modern day thing, maybe last few hundred years. But in Vedas, we never hear that. The woman was always addressed as Mataji, mother. He said, but now, because of Kali Yuga's influence, everybody is called Bai or Ben. Anyway, so Mother Teresa, at least she's called Mother Teresa, not Sister Teresa. Mother Teresa, she is certainly a great charitable welfare worker, but still she does not teach about anything regarding being vegetarian, right? Vishnu does? She herself, I don't think, is a vegetarian, no. So she's doing so much welfare, but it's not unlimited, it's restricted only to human beings. So we have to see these points. We are not speaking in a sectarian way, we're speaking in an objective way. You know, we cannot adopt the mood that just in order to accommodate everyone we say, you know, everyone is good. It's all the same, everyone is good. All paths are the same. This may be a very popular way of talking, and you may, you know, increase the number of followers by saying this, but actually it's not so. Actually it's not so. That someone who is killing animals and eating their flesh, how advanced can they be spiritually? That means they don't have the most basic understanding about which is the beginning teaching of Bhagavad Gita, that you are not your body. The most basic beginning teaching, you are not your body, in the first introductory book, Bhagavad Gita, is not yet there. Therefore, we cannot say that other scriptures in the world can equal Vedic literatures. And even in the Vedas, they're not all the same. Because the Vedic literatures, so many of the Vedic literatures, are more or less for fruitive gains, karma kanda, for good wife, for worshipping, for wealth, for so many things of this type. That is not the same as verses like this from Gita. Gita is not, it's upasana kanda, it's transcendental literature. So, similarly, sometimes people ask about different gurus. Sometimes someone says, how can I be initiated? I already was initiated once. But then we have to see who initiated you. We have to see whether you actually had a genuine Vaishnava guru. And amongst everyone may be called a Vaishnava, but we should examine carefully what the teachings are. And even then, still you may, because we see, just like in school, you get primary education, but you may not get further education. So sometimes someone may have a cool guru, a guru from when you were in your family life with your parents, and you may have gotten some initiation in a very superficial type of way as a ritual. But that is not the same as taking Vaishnava Diksha with full understanding for the purpose of developing love of God. This is what we should be after. This is what we are actually looking for in the initiation process. And there's no wrong in accepting initiation from Vaishnava Guru for this purpose. Even we may have had some initiation prior to this in a ritualistic fashion. It is not ordinary to be welcomed into the family of Lord Chaitanya, because what Lord Chaitanya has come to give is very, very, very rare. Especially in the Kali Yuga, it is extremely difficult and rare to achieve. And by any means, if we can connect with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's family, we should do so. By the grace of Krishna, one gets Guru. By the grace of Guru, one gets Krishna. So if we are fortunate enough that Krishna blesses us with the association of his devotee, and if we can surrender unto him, then according to our surrender, Krishna will reciprocate. Now, how much you surrender will depend upon, as Prabhupada quotes here, akama. Akama means who has no material desire. As long as we keep material desires, we are keeping ourselves burdened by heavy loads of uselessness. If your goal is to, what is your goal? Is your goal to take birth in the material world again, or to get out of the material world? Actually, a serious student should think, I will do anything I have to do to get out of this material world. Isn't that really the test that the Guru and Krishna are putting us through? Isn't that actually the test that we have to go on taking again and again until we can show that we're prepared to pass it no matter what the test may be? Otherwise, you'll have to keep taking the test again. Now that's very frustrating. Just like we see Guru Bhakti, she's studying to take her test, right? Some board exam. And I'm telling her, study hard. Because I don't want you to have to repeat studying it all over again. So, Krishna will give us opportunities to take tests. And what will be the test? To have to sacrifice the thing we want most. That's always the test. In the beginning, you take easy tests. And if you're more advanced, then Krishna gives you more difficult tests. The more advanced you are, the more difficult the test. Sometimes we see Krishna takes away a loved one. But I think that's not as difficult a test as that which Arjuna had to face. What is Arjuna's test? Huh? Did Krishna take away the persons he loved? No, he told Arjuna, you're going to do it. Actually, we cannot estimate the greatness of these Pandavas. The greatness of the Pandavas, the greatness of Krishna's devotees it's too hard to estimate. Compared to what we are like these fleas hopping about in this temple room. Compared to these personalities. They're so extraordinary. Such a sense of duty, such a sense of Krishna consciousness, such a love for Krishna, that they were prepared to sacrifice anything to please him. And when Krishna sees that we are in this mood, then he blesses us with Krishna Prema. Otherwise, you won't get Krishna Prema. When Prabhupada says, try to finish off the business of Krishna consciousness in this lifetime, do you really think it will be done in an easy way? Do you think that you're going to be able to just sort of avoid the difficult tests and then, die and then automatically go back to Godhead? When you avoid the difficult tests, it just means that you take another birth to take them later on. All you're doing is putting them off. So what did Kunti Devi say? Let the tests come one by one now. Who is that? Who had the choice? Katvanga Maharaj. Yeah, Katvanga Maharaj. So what do you want? What was his choice? Anything he wanted. Yeah, he was offered Katvanga Maharaj. The offer was made by the demigods because he had fought on their behalf that you can choose anything you want. He said, all right, I'll tell you what I want. Tell me how long I have to live. They said, you have one more moment. They said, since you have asked, we'll tell you, you have one more moment. He immediately went back to the earthly planet, fixed his mind on the Lord, and left his body in perfection. Imagine he offered anything. If you were offered anything, well, let us hope you would take the right thing. It's nice also that he didn't say, give me Krishna Prema. Because it's not such a simple thing. You have to deserve that thing also. There's a system for getting Krishna Prema. The demigods are not so qualified that they can deliver Krishna Prema either. When you say whatever you want, it means whatever I'm capable of giving you. A pure devotee, then you can ask that. Demigods may not be pure devotees always. So he asked, to a degree that they could deliver a boon, he asked them for that boon. So, sannyas is this tridandi sannyas, means body, mind, and words used for Krishna. This is what we must learn to do. We're not always so fortunate, just like so many of you have to keep jobs. You can't use your body, your mind, and your words all the time for Krishna. Then what should we do? We should at least pray to one day be able to do so. How much fortunate you are can be measured by how much part of the day you can devote your body, mind, and words in the service of Krishna. That's your good fortune. So if someone has an opportunity to do that, and they don't take advantage of that opportunity, then what will happen? What is it saying? Opportunity knocks how many times? 3 times? 4 times? How many times, Bhaktinathan? Once. So if the opportunity knocks and you don't take it, and you don't walk through the door and take advantage of it, thinking, well, it'll come again. It may not come again. It may not come again. So we should try. Now, what happens if you're entangled in a situation where you can't offer yourself constantly, your body, your mind, and words for Krishna? Then what should you do? Brahma Samhita. Right. That's true. You should pray for that time to come. Bhakti Vinod Thakur prays all the time. When, oh, when will that day be mine? And that prayer in itself is very, very pleasing to Krishna. That prayer is a sign of humility. You see, humility is such an important quality. Because the fact is that, especially in Grihastha ashram, it is understood that one may get entangled in so many activities, etc. If one keeps humble and thinks and prays that I pray for such a position, I pray for such a situation, then one day Krishna will give you this chance. The problem is, we see, at least I don't see it so much here, but I have seen in places, that people create philosophies which tries to make them think that even though they're not using body, mind, and words continuously in Krishna's service, they're on the transcendental platform. And so they lose their humility. They stop seeing those who can do this as being more fortunate than them. And so they never get to that point. Out of pride, they never come to the point of praying for that circumstance when I can be fully devoted in Krishna's service. Everyone should come to that stage. And whenever we do get an opportunity, we should try to take advantage of it. If we have a free day, we shouldn't just think, good, now I can sleep extra, or just take it easy. Whatever free time we have, we try to use it in Krishna's service. Then, Krishna will reciprocate. He'll give us more opportunities, more opportunities. And what is the best opportunity of all? The best opportunity is afforded when we can get good association. Good association is the most valuable thing of all. Nothing more valuable than that. And when it comes, we should know how to associate. Srila Rupa Goswami has given us different ways of association. To mentally honor those who chant, to bow down to those who worship the Lord regularly with scheduled vow, and to serve with great devotion those who are pure devotees, whose heart is free from the propensity to find fault with others. So as we make advancement, as we begin to surrender more and more, then Krishna will ignite within us. He will illuminate within us the path that we have to follow. That path will become illuminated how? When it says that Krishna from within guides the devotee. What does it mean? The Dhammi Buddha Yogam Tam. What is the Dhammi Buddha Yogam? What does it mean practically? Does anyone know? What is this Buddha Yoga that Krishna is talking about? It means what? I give intelligence. Now, what does that mean? Yeah. It means that the intelligence is given through Guru and Sadhu and Shastra. I light up from within the torchlight of knowledge. What is that torchlight that he lights? It's faith. I give faith in the association. I give faith in the power of the association of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Just like I was saying to Bhakti Nathan today, why don't you surrender? And he said, I just don't want to surrender. I said, you must not be reading Prabhupada's books. I cannot imagine how anyone who could read for a half hour, an hour a day could fail to surrender if they are in a position to do so, providing they're living a fairly decent life. Because it's just so clear. It becomes so obvious how much we're receiving from Krishna all the time, how much we're indebted to Krishna over lifetimes. And for us to think, well, I don't have to pay anything in return, it doesn't make sense. Give some prasadam. Really, give them a plate of prasadam, some maha, something. When anyone comes to the temple, they should always be given prasad. So, how many lifetimes it takes simply is going to depend on us. You want to finish it in one lifetime, or you want to drag it on. Now you have to make a decision. If you make calculations, well, I'll try and get my share that's coming to me of material enjoyment, and then gradually I'll renounce. You may make a plan like that, but it may never be fulfilled in that way. The nature of material enjoyment is, it's like quicksand. You step in it and you start sinking. And then when you're in quicksand, the only thing you can do is struggle. But the more you struggle, the quicker you sink. Our problem is that we're walking knowingly into quicksand. We do it knowingly. So what is it that impels us to walk into material entanglement? What causes us to do that? What does Krishna tell Arjuna? Kama esha, krodha esha, rajaguna samudvavaha. Kam, krodh, rajagun. Desires which bring us into the mode of passion, born out of the mode of passion. We're firmly situated in this passionate mode, which gives rise to so many desires, and trying to fulfill these desires, we enter into entanglement. Then to try to counteract entanglement, we become more entangled. Therefore, titiksha, sva, tolerance, you have to tolerate. If you don't tolerate, you get problems. You have to learn to tolerate. The difference between Western civilization and Eastern civilization is that in Western civilization, there's very little tolerance. So little tolerance. Actually, India, one of the names of India is Tapabhumi. Just by living there, you have to do tapasya. Just living in India is a type of tapasya. It's very austere in some ways. But that austerity makes one very tolerant. Here, there's a constant attempt to adjust the environment, all the time adjusting in the environment. And people become very intolerant, so much so that when there was the petrol shortage, people were lined up to get petrol, and when they couldn't wait any longer, what did they do? They shot the gas attendant. They killed him. One man was waiting, and when he finally came his turn, they said, "We're out of gas." He killed the person. He got so angry. Ultimate intolerance. People get bothered by some insect, kill it. No thought that this insect took its birth to suck my blood. Therefore we see in Chaitanya Chaitamrita that devotee, Vasudeva, the leper, he had these open sores, and he was taking the maggots and putting them in the sores of his leprosy. They'd fall out and he'd put them back in. Lord Chaitanya embraced him and his whole leprosy went away. We can't imagine. He had leprosy and the bugs were eating and they'd fall out and he put them back. He said, how can I deprive them of their food? My body happens to be their food. What right do I have? Now, if we read examples like this, then it becomes ridiculous for us to think, I'm attached to staying at home, watching television, living with my parents, or whatever our nonsense attachments. When we see, the problem is that we're associating with so many rascals, you know, so-called heroes that we read about in the newspapers and things, that we're not inspired. But if you read Prabhupada's books and you see the examples of such persons like this, then you realize, at least let me try to do something for Krishna. If they can do so much, I can do a little bit. If they can do 100%, let me do 0.001%. Otherwise, people have been trained in this age to be so ignoble. There's no more nobility anymore. There's so unheroic. In fact, it's when you see a movie which presents someone as being all good, what do people say about the movie? What do they say? Corny, right? That's exactly what they say. They say, well, it's a corny movie. Nobody's just good. That's why, you see, that magazine, Batman. Batman was always good, and he was always saving everyone. But then, they made the Batman have all kinds of psychological disturbances, and he was shown to have problems, and he turned out to actually not be all good. And that makes him more lovable today. People say, oh good, now I can identify with him. Why? Because people don't try anymore to be all good. People have already concluded, not only am I not all good, I don't even want to be all good anymore. I like to be bad. And so you have all kinds of strange groups springing up under the name of religion, which are demoniac. On college campuses now, they have some, what are those things? Clubs, huh? Pagans. What is their philosophy?
Celtic philosophy.
What's their philosophy?
It's like witchcraft, so about how nature runs according to the mystical powers.
No, but what are they allowed to do? They can kill. So many things they do. Drink blood. Satanism, that's right. Satanism. They'd kill, drink blood, do so many things. And they're called a religion. That's the worst thing. It gets that bad. But I'm saying that people don't know anymore what is all good, and they don't believe it can be so. So when they hear about Lord Ram, or when they hear about the Pandavas, stories only. So we need to hear about Lord Ram and the Pandavas. We need to read Prabhupada's books. We need to hear about all the great personalities. that will inspire within us a desire to somehow emulate their behavior, their activities, and to risk more, to make more sacrifice, to surrender more. What is the use of being ordinary? There are already so many ordinary people. It's much more wonderful if we try to do something extraordinary. People are pushing in so many different places in the world, just like on Sankirtan, they're pushing so hard to distribute more and more and more books. So why should that only be for someone who's a brahmachari or brahmacharini? Why can't each and every person, irrespective of what their ashram or varna is, they should think, in my own position, let me try to do something extraordinary. Let me try to excel for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. Then the world will be benefited, and you'll become benefited. So, anybody want to comment something? Or question? Why did the Pandavas have to suffer so much? Because they're devotees. So that Krishna could show the greatness of his devotees. That by suffering so much for Krishna, they became greater. The suffering of a devotee is not ordinary suffering like ours. An ordinary person suffers for karma because of some past sin. But the Pandavas were not sinful. They are eternal associates of the Lord. So if they're put into a so-called suffering condition, it is to show how one should surrender fully in such difficult circumstances. And by surrendering unto Krishna, how you can overcome the difficulty. So Krishna tries to teach through his great devotees. If an ordinary person suffers, they won't turn to Krishna. They'll turn to Maya for relief. But Krishna knows his pure devotees will only depend on him in difficult times. So he puts his pure devotees in such difficulty purposely. He increases their apparent karma. Even if someone's not a pure devotee and has karma, Krishna may give you more karma, so that you have more and more opportunity to purify yourself. So actually it is the mercy of Krishna when the Pandavas have such difficulties. The saying is, what is the Bengali words? You teach the daughter-in-law by teaching the daughter. You know this saying? What is it in Bengali? That means that if you want to teach your daughter something, your daughter-in-law something, you do it through your daughter. Because the daughter-in-law doesn't like to hear from the mother-in-law sometimes. But she has to learn so many things. So if the mother still has one of her daughters living at home, she tells her daughter, do this, you should do this. Sometimes she chastises. But actually she's doing it to teach the daughter-in-law. So when Krishna does something through the Pandavas, it's not for their learning, it's for us. But he knows that we will rebel if he tells us directly. So he does it through the Pandavas and others like the Pandavas, and we hear it and we think, oh yes, that's true for me also.
Carry on this idea you presented about how now people don't want to be good. They don't admire other persons who are all good, etc. We see that growing up in that type of situation, you're not overly concerned with moralistic life, etc. You can do all sorts of nonsense things because it's okay, everybody's doing it. But then, as one actually takes up Krishna consciousness, and myself, I'm thinking about, after so many years, still so much contamination is there. How do we feel that we can overcome this difficulty even after so many years?
You have to be patient. You have to realize I'm very fallen, and you have to be patient and depend upon mercy of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Guru, Sadhu, Guru, Vaishnavas, Krishna's mercy. And try your best. Yes, we are very fallen. And the more we advance, the more fallen we will feel. Now we think we're only a little fallen. Now you say, I have so many bad qualities, but I have some good qualities. But when you become very advanced, then you'll think I have no good qualities. So we are not very advanced because we still think I have so many good qualities. I'm very humble. I'm really sincere. I tried very hard. I chant 16 rounds every day. Look at what a good devotee I am. I worship the deity. I cook so many offerings. I circumambulate the temple. I bow down. I listen to my guru, do so many things. Really, I'm a good devotee. But a pure devotee thinks that I'm simply a rascal. I have no good quality at all. Everyone else has got good qualities. This is the difference. A pure devotee sees everyone else as very qualified and myself as very fallen.
Who was eating the ghee meat and eventually thrown out. So because of pain he was dancing and Lord offered as an arti ceremony. And when the rat died, the next bird he became a queen and was offering arti regularly in the temple. So what happened? Those like cockroaches, sometimes we put medicine and kill them. What did that appear?
They didn't dance though. Actually, in the Dham, in Vrindavan, even the cockroaches and bugs are considered to be very fortunate. So even a cockroach or bug gets some special mercy here. Prabhupada often said we should try to avoid killing. We should try to avoid it. They're not ordinary. They have some opportunity for contact. Then who and who? Sudra and Shrivi, huh?
The Kunti Devi explained that being human are not fit to see Lord.
And?
This Kunti Devi is saying, and after Prabhupada is saying, Vivi and Sudra, they are not fit to see the Lord.
Who was the first?
Vivi is twice
Huh.
more.
So what's your question? I don't think I understood the question.
No, like Kunti Devi is explaining that, like when Krishna was living, to go back to Dwarka, then Kunti Devi is looking Krishna. And then in the Prabhupada explanation, he explained that Kunti was saying that being a woman, I am not fit to see Lord. And then second line, Prabhupada is saying Sudra and Vivi are not fit to see Lord.
Dvija Bandhu? Dvij Bandhu. Dvija Bandhu means those who are, Bandhu means the family members of the twice born. So in other words, just like Aswatthama was called Dvija Bandhu. Those who are actually Dvijas, they can become qualified, but women also can become. That means ordinarily, those who are not qualified are not fit to see the Lord. But if they become surrendered to Krishna, then they develop some special qualification. If a woman like Kunti Devi surrenders to Krishna, then she becomes qualified. But ordinarily, Striya, Vaishya, Tata Sudras, they're not qualified to see the Lord. But Krishna says, Tepiyanti Padam Gatim. They surrender unto me, they can achieve the highest destination. Dvija Bandhu. Because she's a pure devotee. Pure devotees feel this way. They actually are fit, but they feel most unqualified due to humility. They feel as if they are doing nothing for Krishna, nothing for God, and they think everyone else is a better servant than they. And they feel useless and worthless. This is not that they're making believe about this feeling. They actually feel this way. They feel worthless, and they feel like they have no bhakti. Genuinely they feel this in their heart. Therefore I said, we are not really genuine devotees because we don't feel like that. When we do some service for Krishna, we immediately think, I've done something really worthwhile. But Kunti Devi, who did so much, she didn't feel that way. Okay, let us have a little kirtan, and then we'll end. Bring me the harmonium. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hariva, 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 Hariva. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada.